I'm getting these 50% off DVDs just like you are, so I'm very excited to be here.
I watched all 7 of Ayo Edebiri's Criterion Closet picks, and I am going to tell you whether or not I would rewatch them and how many times I would rewatch them within my lifespan. Why do you need my opinion on these matters? Well, you don't. Just take her opinion and watch the movie. She knows more about these things than me. But if you are looking for more information on whether these movies would be suited for your personal taste, then watch this random guy's on the internet's opinion.
I'm going down because I saw Rushmore and I want to take Bottle Rocket.
First, we have the movie Bottle Rocket, which is Wes Anderson's feature film debut, and ironically, it is my second favorite Wes Anderson film behind Fantastic Mr. Fox, although granted, I have only seen 4 Wes Anderson films. Nonetheless, this actually came as a surprise to me because it definitely feels different than his other movies that I've seen. It still has some of the quirky humor and the color palette definitely seems like a precursor to his later films, but the acting here is what is most different. Owen and Luke Wilson, who are also in their feature film debut here, I think, give much more of a grounded and human-like performance than some of Wes Anderson's later movies like Asteroid City, which tend to feature performances that are a lot more monotone and kind of detached from reality. The Wilson brothers' goofiness here and willingness to get involved in criminal situations kind of reminds me of a Coen brothers movie with brighter colors. This really seems like The Big Lebowski's ugly stepbrother. I think the plot does get a little sidetracked in the middle with the brothers getting trapped in this motel in the middle and Luke Wilson's character falling in love with someone at the hotel. I think it's probably necessary for his character development, but I don't think it's very necessary for the plot of the movie as a whole. But it honestly is a very fun and funny movie, especially the intro. The opening scene is very fun and it sets up the characters in a pretty brilliant way. Although I heard that they actually had to reshoot the intro scene because it wasn't good the first time, but they did a great job reshooting it. And sometimes, you know, in life you gotta reshoot things because you suck at doing things the first time. So I think I would watch this movie about 5 more times.
I'm taking The Funeral because I already have Tampopo.
Next, we have the 1984 Japanese film The Funeral. And first of all, let me say, I don't know if it's my new OLED 65-inch TV that I just bought, but this movie was beautiful. It looked very modern to me. It was super crisp and clear, and the contrast in this movie is actually pretty amazing. Again, it could just be my new TV. Just take a look at this shot. This shot is from the inside, facing these people in pure black suits, also facing outside where the sun is blaring on the trees in the background, and somehow everything is exposed properly. Much like the exposure that I got on national TV last night for taking a nap. What? Oh, the joke is none. I got no exposure, and that's the perfect amount of exposure for taking a nap. And this film also has perfect exposure. Okay, enough Family Guy jokes. Other than that, this film is cute and emotional, but I think there is probably a lot getting lost in translation here, and I usually don't say that about foreign films because I think most movies are universal, but this film in particular is specifically about cultural norms. There are scenes in this movie where the people who are participating in the funeral are watching how-to tapes about funerals. These how-to tapes are kind of telling them how to act at funerals and giving them pre-planned responses for when other people at the funeral tell them that they're sorry for their loss. It's something I just don't have experience with in the US. I've never heard of a VHS tape telling people how to act at a funeral. But it is very interesting seeing all of these cultural practices, but I just can't help get the feeling that there's some message behind this movie that I am missing. It's almost, maybe it's a critique of these cultural practices, or maybe it's a celebration of them. I think there are a lot of nuances in this film that I, as an American, just do not pick up on. Another thing that adds to the lost in translation-ness of this, I think, is that I think this movie is actually a comedy. It reminds me, oddly enough, of something like Christmas Vacation, where a bunch of family members get together for an event, albeit a sad event in this case, and the movie is kind of about the interactions between these family members and all of their quirky traits. But since it is a comedy in a foreign language, I think I personally do not pick up on some of the nuances of the way that people deliver their lines, and so it's probably not as funny to me as it would be to someone who grew up in Japan. Nevertheless, I think this is a good but slow movie that I think I would watch about 3 more times.
Pure sexiness, pure Chicago, love a heist, as I said. And the movie is Thief.
Next, we have the 1981 film Thief, a Michael Mann-directed movie starring James Caan, who is obviously most well known for his role as Buddy's dad in the movie Elf. He was also apparently in some gangster movies in the 70s or something. I don't know.
He was in The Godfather.
I know. That's the joke. I'm keeping that in, by the way. And I'll be upfront with you guys, this is the first movie that I watched in this list that I didn't really like. It's called Thief, and there is like one decent theft in this entire movie, and it comes towards the end of the film. And even in that theft, it's really hard to know what's going on. They don't really explain what they're doing, like in something like Ocean's 11, where they go through the entire plan of the theft before they do it, and tell you exactly each step along the way, and you can kind of follow it. But in this one, they're kind of just like, rewiring stuff, and you don't know why they're rewiring stuff, and they're cutting through stuff, and you don't even really know what they're stealing or where the building is. And I think that, you know, exposition can be a bad thing. It's obviously possible to tell the audience too much, but when it comes to thief movies, I wanna like follow along with the plan, I guess. That, along with the pretty standard plot and weak character motivations, make this for a pretty bland movie in my opinion, except for the cinematography. The cinematography in this movie is great. It reminds me of a cross between Blade Runner and John Wick. Specifically with John Wick, not only do the cinematography styles match each other, but the fact that this film feels like it takes place in a dystopian city underground situation with criminal activity really makes it feel like these two films could be in the same universe. But overall, I think that's the only reason that I would rewatch this movie is for the cinematography, and so I would rewatch this movie one time.
Okay, gonna take High and Low.
Next, we have the movie High and Low. The title of this 1963 film by legendary filmmaker Akira Kurosawa is a double entendre, maybe even a triple entendre. The words high and low both refer to the economical status of the main protagonist and the main antagonist of this film, one being rich, the other being not as rich, and the physical location of these characters' homes. The rich protagonist lives on top of a hill in a nice mansion overlooking all of the plebes and peasants. The antagonist lives directly under that mansion, doomed to look up at it every day as he goes to work. But the triple part of this triple entendre also can, at least in English, refer to the plot of this movie. Early in the film, Kurosawa sets up this ingenious ethical dilemma. The main character of the film, a millionaire shoe executive, gets a phone call from someone saying that they kidnapped his son. He freaks out and he says he's willing to do anything to get his son back, including paying them a huge ransom. But he soon finds out that his son didn't actually get kidnapped. Instead, they kidnapped the wrong son. They kidnapped the son of the millionaire chauffeur. And so the ethical question now is this millionaire who really needs the money that he was going to give for his son, is he going to pay that same money for the chauffeur's son? This concept plays out with a more typical detective kind of plot line where the detectives search high and low for the chauffeur's son. Get it? High and low, like the title of the movie. I'm not sure if that is only a triple entendre in English, but I think it's cool either way. I guess my interest in this film can be summed up with the fact that I had two questions in my mind while watching it all the way through. Number one, is the protagonist going to choose the right moral choice? And number two, how in the world are they going to solve this case with such little information? Both questions are answered and both questions are satisfying. The only knock I have against this movie is its length. I do think it could be about 20 minutes shorter, but having said that, I think it's a great movie and I think I would watch it about 10 more times.
Eyi, also known as This Is My Desire in English.
Next, we have the movie This Is My Desire, a movie about immigrants who want to move from Africa to different parts of Europe. We start with a male character who wants to move to France, and everything in his life seems to be going good. He just got a passport, and it seems like he is on the brink of actually moving there and apparently, chasing his dreams in a different country. But a tragedy happens, and it is a heartbreaking tragedy that I did not expect, and it stops him in his tracks, and from there on out, this movie is pretty much misery porn. It seems like nothing can go right for this character. He has so many bills to pay now. His father is a greedy SOB who is trying to steal the inheritance from his, I won't spoil anything because I do think this is a great movie, so go watch it. But it's a very sad watch. Trigger warning. But midway through the movie, something interesting actually happens, and that's that we actually switch perspectives. We switch to a different character who we have not seen up until that point. It's a female character who's trying to do the same thing. This time I think she's trying to immigrate to Italy instead of France, but the goals are the same. And at first I was really concerned about this because I was super invested in the first character's story. It was just super engaging and I really cared for the outcome of that story. But I have to say the second story was, almost just as good. It was very engaging as well. But since this happened, I was oddly left with the impression that there was going to be another story, as if this movie was going to be kind of an anthology of 3 different short stories, because I had just watched Kinds of Kindness, I guess, and there were 3 different short stories in it. But this wasn't like this. This only switched character perspectives one time, and so that means there were a total of basically 2 different stories in this movie, which is a structure in a movie that I had never seen before, and I find that very interesting. But I think it did work because these 2 people actually are in the same town, and they kind of interact with each other a little bit, and we get more information on the first character as the story progresses. And I just think this film is great because it showcases some of the struggles that people in low-income countries and low-income situations can have in getting themselves out of those situations. Sometimes the odds are just stacked against them, and no matter how hard they try to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, circumstances in life just like knock them down every time. It's hard to pick yourself up by the bootstraps if you don't have any bootstraps, whatever those are. Like I said, this is a pretty hard watch, so I'm not antsy to get back to it, but I do think it is a great movie, and I would watch it 5 more times.
I love To Sleep with Anger.
Next, we have the movie To Sleep with Anger from 1990, and boy, this is the most interesting movie on the list for me. It is the one that I have the most to say about, but it's also the one that my thoughts are super jumbled about, and I'm not going to be able to give good commentary on it, so just bear with me. Parts of this movie felt really great, but also parts of it felt kind of amateurish. It's a simple story about 2 empty nesters who take in an old friend into their house when he comes to LA. This man, played by Danny Glover, who is an absolute he's amazing in this film, is clearly from a different place in time. Not literally, but the way he acts is very southern and sort of gentlemanly and not really, typical of someone in LA. But underneath the surface, this character is someone who is teeming with, the only way I can explain it is bad energy. Spoiler alert for the rest of this movie, and also a trigger warning for domestic violence. From the very first day this man arrives, we can tell that something is off when the daughter of the empty nesters, who is pregnant, tries to shake the hand of Danny Glover's character. His name is Harry, by the way, but every time she tries to shake his hand, the baby in her stomach kicks her, giving this impression that the baby is kind of warning her about who this man is. And that was a pretty smart baby, because this guy is in fact up to no good. He constantly rummages around the couple's personal belongings, and he is clearly a bad influence on their married son, who begins playing poker with stacked decks of cards and becomes an a-hole to his wife after Harry arrives. But what makes this movie super interesting to me is that it's not super obvious that Danny Glover's character is evil, but the circumstances surrounding his character and the events that happen towards the beginning and end of the film really suggest that he is evil, like there is some kind of almost demonic presence within him. But his character doesn't really do anything super evil in this film. Yeah, sure, he opens a pocket knife and tells a story about the time that he might have or might not have killed someone in self-defense, albeit. And sure, he plays poker with stacked decks, and sure, he influences one of the sons of the married couple to, basically go get another girl when his wife is mad at him. But he doesn't, I don't know. I guess I was expecting, by the way the tone of this movie sets up his character, that it would be a lot more evil, like he would actually murder someone or something. But spoiler, he doesn't. But again, the events surrounding him in this household really give the impression that something more sinister is going on. For example, the baby kicking in the woman's stomach when she meets him for the first time. Also, the father of the household gets sick after he arrives and only gets better at the end of the movie when Harry dies. Like, as soon as Harry dies, the father is just all of a sudden better when he was pretty much on his deathbed. And there's an earthquake at the end of the movie when Harry dies. It seems like there are a lot of consequences that really make it seem like this guy is kind of evil, but he doesn't really do anything super evil. But I do think this kind of filmmaking makes the film's concept and message sort of nebulous and makes it to where I'm not really sure what the message is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think this kind of filmmaking can be viewed as very artistically deep and have an infinite number of interpretations based on the person watching it and based on their personal experiences. For me, I think this is more about the influences, the bad influences that certain people can have on others, to the point where it's almost supernatural. Like I said earlier, it's almost like they just have this bad energy. But I don't think this movie is necessarily trying to say that Danny Glover's character was demonic. I think this movie is more of a metaphor for toxic people in your life. But this vagueness of messaging does have one consequence that I'm not super comfortable with. In the film, one of the sons of the married couple who invites Harry into their home starts hanging out with Harry a little too much, and it's obvious that Harry is having a bad influence on him, and once Harry arrives, the son actually beats his wife. And what's interesting about this is that the way the movie portrays this event makes it seem like that's Harry's fault, not the guy who beat his wife's fault. In fact, his wife at the end forgives him almost as if she knew it was Harry's fault too. Like he just had some kind of bad energy that was influencing this guy and making him, convincing him, making him a worse person. And I just think that's a little bit of a problem. But I think this film is probably the one I'm thinking the most about after watching on this list. And I think it is a treasure trove of metaphorical meaning, one that you will get different meanings of and different, you'll learn different things about this movie every time you watch it. However, some of the filmmaking aspects of it, like the cinematography and the acting, kind of bring it down a couple notches for me. And so I think I would rewatch this about 7 times.
Charade, absolute fave.
Finally, we have the movie Charade, or maybe Charade, I don't know, starring Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. And let me tell you that this is the most entertaining movie on this list for me. But does that make it the best movie on this list? No, not necessarily. Being the best movie is subjective. It depends on what you want out of a movie. Do you value stories that reflect the real life struggles of people? Then This Is My Desire is the best film. If you value metaphor and artistic vagueness, then To Sleep with Anger is the best film. But if you like movies that have lots of twists and turns and a more typical Hollywood plot, then this movie is the best film for you. Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant are absolutely great on screen together. They are dynamic and the relationship is interesting and ever evolving, primarily because Cary Grant's character just cannot seem to tell the truth to Audrey Hepburn, and this is the main charade of the film, and I think it both works and it doesn't. It works because it makes his character interesting and it keeps the audience engaged constantly because the audience is like, what in the world is going on? What is actually happening here? But it doesn't work because it kind of makes Audrey Hepburn's character seem a little bit weaker because every time he lies to her, she just kind of forgives him pretty easily. And it seems like that would be a pretty unforgivable thing in real life. It's almost like this is chalked up to the fact that he's just so handsome that she can't resist. It's not until the end of the movie where she actually tries to break away from him, and this is the time she should probably be doing that the least. But I can easily forgive that because this is a very entertaining movie full of twists and turns, like I said before, and I would rewatch it 15 times.
I had a fun time in the closet. Goodbye.
So that's all the films. Thank you so much, Ayo, and thank you so much, Criterion, for making this video. Please tell me which one is your favorite movie in the comments below, and tell me who you want me to review the films of the Criterion Closet next. They have a lot of them, so just please like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm about to give up making videos because nobody watches them. So, just, please.